Hi everybody, Levi Clay here, and I am back again to talk to you about the subject of practice, but more specifically, we are going to supercharge your fretboard navigation skills and your ability to improvise by talking about the subject of writing your own etudes. So, let's start by discussing what an etude is. Well, an etude comes from the French word meaning study, and I think of it as being a short musical composition that we can use to expand our knowledge of anything in reality, technique. It could be fretboard knowledge, it could be chord knowledge, but we're going to be using them today as a way of practicing our ability to learn the fretboard and as a way of helping us navigate playing through chord changes. Now, of course, this is going to tie into my work on Arpeggio April, which you can check out over on my Patreon page, link in the description. As part of our weekly guided practice routines, we are getting a solid grounding on the fretboard with arpeggios and dealing in chord changes. So if you want to get access to weekly guided practice routines, check out the link in the description. You can join us every week, and I have a customized practice routine which I will talk you through and then do the full routine so you can practice along with me. You can also get access to ear training sessions and all of that good stuff. You'll have a good time. So the first thing to consider here is this is something that I've done for a very long time as part of my own playing. I've always been writing my own etudes, and that's because my primary interest on the instrument is as an improviser. And when you really think about it, improvisation is nothing more than spontaneous composition. Spontaneous, meaning done on the spot, and composition, meaning something that you write. Now, how do you go about practicing spontaneous composition? Well, in reality, you can just hope for the best. You can go out on your gigs and just hope tonight will be the night that I'll somehow be able to compose spontaneously. And the reality of the situation is that's rarely going to work for you. So the best way that you can work on your spontaneous composition is to work on your very deliberate composition. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to take you through the process of creating your own etudes for your practice routines, and these are going to elevate your playing to the next level. And of course, I think the idea here is if you take any given concept and you write an etude that will encompass that concept. When you write one, it's going to be difficult. When you write two, it's going to be difficult. As you write more and more of these things, you're going to quickly find that they get easier and easier. And when you get to the end, when you've written 50 etudes, you'll find that the 51st one is one that you don't really even need to think about anymore. And of course, when it comes to doing this on the instrument, you put even less thought into it. The idea here, especially because we're going to be talking about arpeggios and nailing chord changes, is we're looking to explore the fretboard. We're using these as a way to explore the fretboard. So I'm going to take you over to Guitar Pro now, and I'm going to walk you through the composition of an etude, and then we'll play it together. So here we go. Okay, so here I am over in Guitar Pro, and when we're over here in Guitar Pro, the idea that we're really thinking about here is just using a stream of, it could be quarter notes, it could be eighth notes, any given rhythm, and we're looking to, in the early stages, just be composing using one rhythm and using that as a way to explore the fretboard. So what we've been dealing with in Arpeggio April this week has been minor 7 arpeggios. Here they all are on screen. And what we're going to be doing to help really nail that as part of our compositional tool is to work on a chord change. So if we take a very simple chord change, for example, A minor 7 going to C minor 7, and you were to practice that on the guitar, you might start out by practicing and playing just an A minor 7 arpeggio, which would look like this. Been using way too much Guitar Pro in my life. And then you would go over to a C minor 7 arpeggio. Now, of course, you could do that by moving up to the 8th fret and playing it. It's going to look like this. Way too much Guitar Pro work. So this would be an A minor 7 arpeggio going to a C minor 7 arpeggio. We could go in and fix all those accidentals. I don't like the way they look when the chord isn't spelled correctly. There we go. You could absolutely do that, or we could refinger this C minor 7 arpeggio so it fits around the same position as our A minor chord, which is going to give us. Put the right notes in there. What have I done wrong here? Sorry. There we go. Boom. So there's another C minor 7 arpeggio, and of course I know my arpeggios inside out, so I don't have to really think about this. Now, as an exercise, that's not going to be particularly fun to practice, particularly fun to play, because you are literally just moving up an A minor 7 arpeggio, and then you're moving up a C minor 7 arpeggio. So I'm going to delete all of that, and we're going to come back here and we're going to start out by writing some simple etudes using just quarter notes. So our goal is going to be using and writing just 4 notes of our arpeggio. Simple process here, 4 notes of our arpeggio. So if I do that, we take the first note of the A minor 7, the second note of the A minor 7, the third note of the A minor 7, and then the fourth note of the A minor 7. And then we have to ask ourselves, well, at this point, the arpeggio is going to change. So how would I move to my next chord, my C minor 7. Now in this particular instance, and in just about every instance, we're always going to have 2 options. You could either move up for the next note in the arpeggio, or you could move down for the next note in the arpeggio. So in this case, if we were to move up, we would be moving to the flat 7 of our C, or if you were to move down, you'd actually be staying on the same note. You'd be staying on the note G. So I don't want to stay on the same note. It sounds a little bit boring. So we're going to move up to the next note of our C minor 7. So it's going to sound like that. From there, again, just 4 notes of my arpeggio. So we've started on the flat 7, so we're going to the root, then the flat 3rd, and then the 5th. So we've played 4 notes of C minor 7 here. Again, from here we have 2 options. We could either move up to the next note in our arpeggio, going to our A minor 7 chord, which would be the root note, the 5th fret, or we could move down. I guess we could actually stay on that same note. So we could go up to the root, we could stay where we are, which will be the flat 7 of our A, or we could come down to the 5th. Now, I think for the sake of having some contour in our line, or having some consistency in our line, I should say, we're going to move up at this point. Now, again, I'm just going to write 4 notes out. So let's do the root, the flat 3rd, the root coming down to the flat 7 of that A minor 7. Now, again, from here, we need to transition to our C minor chord. So let's break the pattern. Let's move up now to the flat 7 of C. Now, of course, what I'm doing here when I go through this like this is I'm forcing myself to visualize my arpeggios. Now, I'm doing this without a guitar. You shouldn't be doing this as fast as I'm doing it, and you shouldn't be doing it without a guitar. You want to be using it as a way to explore your fretboard. I can visualize my fretboard really well in my mind, so I don't really suffer from that problem. It's not something I need to do. I could be working through this now and just write through these like this, and this is in its most basic form. In its most basic form, this will absolutely be an etude that will spell out those chord changes. We'll just go as far as that. Let's cut over to me playing this now. I'll do it the way I would do it in a weekly guided practice routine. So I'll play along with the guitar profile, and I'll make sure that there's some keyboards behind it. So that's going to sound like this. Now, of course, I think they sound really boring to be quarter notes like that, but you have to start out like that. Starting out writing your etudes as quarter notes is good. It's a good use of your time, but you do want to kick these up into 8th notes as you move forward, because then you're more likely to come across different ways of changing through positions. And that's really one of the key reasons I like doing this. When you practice arpeggios from the bottom or from the top, you get used to, well, I go up one and then I come down the next. I go up one and I come down the next. We don't want that. We want the option to be able to change from one arpeggio to another at any place within said arpeggio. That's really our goal here. So let me write, again, I'll write a short little etude out just so you can see how I would be going about doing this. And the goal here, again, is going to be going between that A minor 7 and that C minor 7, but now I'm going to be using 8th notes when I do that. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notes of an A minor 7. Now we need to transition to our C minor 7. So what we're going to do is we're going to go, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do it like that. I'm having to go in and correct all of my accidentals again. I'm a stickler for details. So again, that is just 8 notes of my C minor. Again, I've got options from here. I could come down to the 5th of A, or I could move up to the root of A. Both of them are totally valid. So let's say we're going to go, let's play a sequence now. Let's play, that's a sequence of arpeggios, right? We're playing a minor 7 arpeggio starting on the root, and then playing that same minor 7 arpeggio but starting on the 3rd. Again, let's transition. So we'll now go, let's jump up to the root of C, and we'll come down with the same sequential idea. So I'm going to come down 4 notes of my arpeggio, and then I'm going to play another 4 notes of my arpeggio, but starting on a different note. it does the job. Let's maybe change position now. That should be fun, right? So let's go from, we realistically, let's go down to the root, and we'll go, it's not really a good place to be changing position. Let's go, let's do that. And we could do this, and that's going to be my position shift. I'm going to use this as a way to move up the neck to my E shape of the C minor 7 arpeggio. Now at this point we want to transition back to our A minor 7, so we're going to do that by going like that. And then we want to finally transition over to our C minor 7. Let's do this, this. And then this. Again, I'm working through this at a rocket pace, but this, in its most basic form, is a very simple, basic arpeggio etude that will go through those chord changes, and I'm using it to just, play around with a couple of positions there. Let's have a listen to what that one sounds like, and then we'll move over and do something a little bit more bluesy. Okay, so now we are going to be looking at the same basic concept, writing eighth note etudes, but going through a 12-bar blues type progression. In fact, we'll just deal with the first two chords of a blues. We'll deal with the 1 chord and the 4 chord. So if we do that, let's do that in the key of C. C7 is going to be our first chord, F7 is going to be our second chord. So again, in my mind, I've got my arpeggio set out, and I'm going to write short little melodic etudes that are going to outline those sounds. So let's say we're up at C here on the 10th fret area. Sorry, that's the wrong note. That's our C7 arpeggio. Let's go. Okay, so here's our melody that we're going to play over our C7. We're moving up our arpeggio, hitting that top note, coming down, and then moving back up to the B flat, the flat 7. Now this is a good note to hit because we can then transition down to the 10th fret. Now the 10th fret in this case is going to be the 3rd of our F7 chord. If I was to write that chord in, it would look like that. So it's right there in our chord. Of course, this is a big part of what I'm going for as part of this arpeggio April. I want you guys to know this stuff inside out. Let's go. I'm really having to avoid putting in colourful notes, colour tones. Okay, that works. Simple arpeggio on the F7. We've ended here. We're on the note F, which is the root of our F7. And a great way to transition is going to be to move down a semitone into the 3rd of our C7 chord. So we might do this. Let's just come down. Let's go. Yeah, sure, that'll do. Right, so that's our C7. We then want to move to our F7. Again, I'm just looking for ways to connect these notes up. Let's do that, and then we'll go. Yeah, let's do it like that, and then that will transition. I'm not actually crazy on that myself, but we will. I think there's, when I'm saying I'm not crazy on this particular one, that doesn't matter. Just keep moving forward because it's not about getting this one to be perfect. We're not looking to compose a masterpiece here. We're just looking to exercise the mind. So let's just finish this one up and then I'll play it for you. Let's do that. And then we're going to end that one by coming down to the 3rd of our the 3rd of our C7 chord. So this, again, as a simple etude, is going to outline those chord changes quite nicely, quite effectively. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump over, I'm going to play that for you so you can hear what that's going to sound like in the context of those chord changes. It will sound like this. Now, I can't express this enough, guys. The sky is the limit for this. As I say, this is just something that I do when I'm working on chord changes. I'm going to be doing some more videos over the coming weeks where we talk about some more advanced chord changes like giant steps. And using a chord progression like giant steps is a wonderful way to test your arpeggio knowledge, because there's lots of different arpeggio types in there, and you have to really know the different areas of the fingerboard in order to be able to do that fluently. And you saw me doing that relatively quickly, and that's because I've been doing this for a long time. I've been a professional musician for longer than I care to admit at this stage. So I'm very quick with this. But in the early stages, this is something that would be done very slowly with a guitar. But that's okay. Take your time. Take as much time as you need with this in order to get it to where it needs to be. And if you do want more information on arpeggio mastery, head on over to my Patreon page and check out our arpeggio April. In fact, I want to say a huge thank you to these wonderful supporters over on Patreon. Check out my new credits page as well. Doesn't that look great? If you want to be like these awesome people and get access to my weekly guided practice routines, weekly guided ear training sessions, or even have one-on-one lessons with me, I think there's only one spot available on that now. Jump in on that link in the description. And if that doesn't suit, you can also head on over to Amazon and check out one of my many books. I've got lots of books available, and I am sure you will find something that you enjoy there. So, as always, thank you so much for checking this video out, guys. If you have enjoyed it, please do give it a like, give it a share, give it a comment, give me a subscribe, tell your friends, tell your enemies, and I will see you guys for some more practice videos very soon. Laters.